Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be breaking down a winter storm that'll impact the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the Northeast over the next few days. We'll also be breaking down atmospheric rivers again in California. This will lead to some big severe weather events, most likely over the next few weeks across the United States. I'll give you the latest breakdown on all this and more in this forecast, but let's first begin with what's happening across the United States today. We're first going to begin with the southern plains, which is actually where we have a stationary frontal boundary, which has been bringing some showers and storms across the southern plains and back through the lower Mississippi Valley. This is a region where we've been seeing a ton of rainfall, which is leading to some flash flooding in those areas, along with a little bit of isolated severe weather as well. Further west we go, closer to California, nothing too particularly crazy that's going on over there, but things are about to change very quickly, and I'll talk about more on that here in just a moment. Now let's take you through the next few days and give you an idea of what's going to be happening in the broad sense of things. Then I'll break down that winter storm and even the potential for some severe weather. So going over Wednesday into Thursday, we're not really going to be watching anything too crazy across the United States, but one thing to be watching for will be a low pressure system that'll develop over the central and southern plains. This will bring the threat for some snow across the northern and even central plains as well, and eventually going through Thursday into Friday, that snow will move into the Midwest, and it will actually be the threat for a winter storm. This could bring some snowfall totals upwards of 4 to 8 inches in some areas. Once we go through Friday, we'll be watching that low pressure system moving into the Northeast, so more snowfall expected up that direction. But look back over here on the western half of the United States. There is precipitation absolutely everywhere, and this will be because of more atmospheric rivers. We saw this back in January as well as late December. It is coming back again, and a lot more of these will be to come. So you can see going into Saturday and Sunday, one of those atmospheric rivers will actually bring the threat for two different low pressure systems. One of them could bring snow, one of them could bring the threat for severe weather, and then once we go into next week, things become a bit more uncertain, but we'll still be watching for more atmospheric rivers. This will really control our weather here across the United States going into next week, so we'll have to watch this very closely, especially for the threat for some severe weather in the southern tier of the United States. Now let's talk about that winter storm. This will all begin in the northern and central plains over the next 24 hours, and there are already winter storm watches in effect for those in the Twin Cities, back through areas near Chicago, so just off to the north of there, into Milwaukee, and as well as northern Iowa. Winter weather advisories in effect back into areas over in the central and northern plains, and again, this is mainly for the threat of snowfall totals upwards of 8 inches in some areas. So beginning with tonight, there will not be a whole lot of snow activity. If you're outside or taking a walk, you may notice a few snow flurries or some light snow, but this is very minimal activity and it should remain isolated in nature. But overnight tonight and tomorrow morning, that is when things really ramp up as that low pressure system begins to strengthen down in the southern plains. And what this will basically do is ramp up the precipitation. A lot of this will be light to moderate snow, so we're not really going to be watching for a whole lot of heavy snow. The one area in particular I'd be monitoring for some heavier snow would be back over in Iowa. Once we go through Thursday morning and into the afternoon, snow will start to march out to the east into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. I'll show you more on that here in just a second. And over in the central plains, I've had a lot of you asking, am I going to see snow in Kansas City? Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look like it. It'll most likely just be a rain event again. Another cold rain. I know a lot of you in Kansas City have been complaining, where's my snow? Unfortunately, you are just a bit too far off to the south of where this low pressure system will be located, so it's going to be more of just a cold rain. Now, in terms of snowfall accumulation in the northern plains, this is just an estimate, but a decent area will probably see between 2 to 4 inches. Areas back near the Twin Cities might get into the 3 to 6 inch range when this is all said and done. Back over to the Midwest, as I mentioned before, this will be the area that we'll be watching primarily on Thursday for some moderate to maybe even a couple bands of heavy snow. Low pressure system will be centered over Indiana and Illinois going into the overnight hours Thursday into Friday morning, so some moderate snow may be possible. A lot of this stuff will still be probably on the lighter end, which will lead to lesser snowfall accumulation overall. This will eventually move into the Ohio Valley and the Northeast as we go into Friday morning. In terms of snowfall accumulation, again, this is another just an estimate from the HRR model, giving us a good idea though that we'll probably see somewhere in the range of 3 to 6 inches. Can't rule out a couple of areas again getting maybe closer to 8 to even an isolated spot near 10 inches is not impossible with this sort of setup or event, but the main areas for that accumulation will likely be in Wisconsin. And there will be some travel impacts, especially near Milwaukee. There's actually a small little red area there, that's representing some major travel impacts. That'll primarily be for tomorrow through Friday morning, and that's again going to be all due to the fact there could be some pretty hefty snow there, along with the fact that there could be even a little bit of drifting as well. In terms of the mid-Atlantic as well as through the Ohio Valley, snow will be possible primarily Friday morning into the afternoon hours. Snow will really be kind of hard to come by over here. I think some areas will see some snow accumulation. This is the NAM model. It's not necessarily the one that we're just looking at. There is a chance that some areas over here could see more snow than what's being forecasted, but the general idea here is that we'll probably see somewhere in the range of 1 to 3 inches across Pennsylvania. May see a little bit of snow back over into western Virginia, and that'd primarily be in the mountainous regions there. But again, just something to look forward to if you're over in that direction. Now, in terms of flooding and back through California as well, we're going to talk first though about the southern plains. Back over here in Arkansas as well as into northeast Texas and southeast Oklahoma, this is where we do have a slight risk for flash flooding tomorrow, and this is an area to watch for pretty closely. It'll be kind of set up right along that stationary front, which will lead to some higher rainfall accumulation over the next few days. So once we go through Thursday as well as even into Friday, rain will just continue across those areas. A couple of those storms that actually do develop may be severe. Large hail is really my only concern with those severe storms. I'm not really looking at much of a tornado threat. In terms of rainfall accumulation over the next few days, main region to be watching for heaviest of the rain in terms of maybe 1 to 3 inches of rain in some areas. We'll be back from Arkansas into areas like Mississippi and northern Alabama. So definitely some nice rain there for those that need it. Obviously, there has been a lot of rain there recently, so not everybody needs it in those areas. Now, back over in California, there are atmospheric rivers. This will really set up, again, the United States weather pattern over the next 7 to 14 days. Rain will really start to be heavy by early Friday morning. It's primarily going to be in the overnight hours Thursday into Friday. Once we go through Saturday and Sunday, we'll have a drier period, still some showers and storms near the coastline. Once we go into next week, by Monday into Tuesday, another atmospheric river, arrives. Eventually going into early Wednesday, we'll be watching for another atmospheric river, most likely going to bring some more rainfall here to California as we go into Wednesday as well as into Thursday. And then again, after that, it starts to get very uncertain, even though Wednesday's already uncertain in this sort of environment. So we'll keep you posted with the latest details on this, because it will play a big part into the United States weather pattern, again, as I mentioned, over the next 7 to 14 days. In terms of rainfall accumulation, right around the California coastline is where we'll have the heaviest rainfall. Could see some areas get upwards of 6 to 10 inches of rain over the next week and a half. So there will be a ton of rainfall. So the snowfall accumulation is no joke. Some areas in the mountainous regions could get upwards of 200 inches of snowfall over the next 7 to 10 days. Again, that is pretty dangerous, and flooding will really become a threat here over the next several days in California. Make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe as well if you've not already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting.